バルハラの売ってきた喧嘩だ。それだけだ。
おっ始めるかマイキー。行くぞトマ。
Welcome back to Tokyo Revengers. Last time, Keisuke revealed that a dreadful accident occurred after they had taken the Toman group photo. At the start of episode 16, we cut to a flashback of the past. In 2003, the newly formed Tokyo Manji gang relishes life, riding their bikes with reckless abandon. However, Manjiro's sluggish moped puts a damper on their fun and causes the gang to slow down to his pace. Ken and the rest grumble about Manjiro's ride, but Manjiro defends his trusty CB250T Street Hawk, acting like it's a high-performance machine. Suddenly, an older biker gang pulls up beside them and sneers at the young gang's ignorance. One of the older bikers decides to vandalize Manjiro's moped, but Manjiro confronts him with a steely glare and warns him not to damage his ride or face dire consequences. The older biker backs down and his gang takes off, leaving behind a chilling threat to the Tokyo Manji gang. As they continue the ride, the gang is disappointed they didn't get to brawl with the older gang. Then, disaster strikes as Manjiro's moped runs out of gas, and the gang realizes they're stranded in the middle of nowhere. Ken chides Manjiro for not planning ahead, but Manjiro passes off the problem as Taman's issue and suggests a game of rock, paper, scissors to decide who will go for gas. Keisuke Baji loses the game and reluctantly takes Manjiro's moped to the gas station, while the rest of the gang heads to the beach. As they race towards the shore, Ken and Takashi decide to see who can reach the open water first and return. However, Kazutora notices that Manjiro is missing and the gang grows increasingly worried about their absent friend. Keisuke's predicament begins as he embarks on his journey, but unfortunately, he can't seem to locate a gas station. Despite his predicament, Keisuke happens to stumble upon the biker gang from earlier. Interestingly, they're keen to fulfill their promise, which is to burn Keisuke's moped. Keisuke's heart begins to race as he realizes he might be in danger. The biker gang, however, doesn't waste any time and starts beating Keisuke to a pulp. They proceed to make attempts to destroy his moped, but Keisuke valiantly protects it with his body. In a moment of bravery, he warns them not to touch Manjiro's bike, or else he'll take them down. In a surprising turn of events, Manjiro shows up, much to everyone's surprise. As it turns out, he forgot his swim trunks in his moped. He proceeds to kick his own bike, leaving everyone perplexed. The biker gang tries to tell him what happened, but in an instant, Manjiro knocks one of them down, revealing that Keisuke is what's important to him. After making sure that Keisuke is okay, the duo bravely confronts the gang. Flashback to a few days earlier, and we find Kazutora and Keisuke planning to steal Manjiro's dream bike. Keisuke, still unsure about the idea, expresses his doubts to Kazutora, but his friend convinces him otherwise. Despite his reservations, Keisuke agrees to go along with the plan, knowing that Manjiro would be overjoyed to receive his dream bike. At nightfall, under the cover of darkness, they break into the bike shop, filled with anticipation and fear. Despite his doubts, Keisuke follows Kazutora inside. They lay their eyes on the bike, and Keisuke realizes it's not new. It has custom features and seems to be there for maintenance. As they start cutting the chains, Kazutora steps outside to open the shutters, and that's when they hear it, the sounds of footsteps. The owner appears out of nowhere, his eyes blazing with fury, and Keisuke's heart races with panic. As the owner approaches them, Keisuke recognizes him. It's Shinichiro, and he wonders what he's doing here. Shinichiro informs him that this is his shop, and Keisuke is taken aback. But before he can process this information, he sees Kazutora running towards them with a weapon. The situation spirals out of control as Kazutora hits Shinichiro in the head, leaving him gasping for breath. Amid the chaos, Keisuke reveals that Shinichiro is Manjiro's older brother, a revelation that startles Kazutora. While Shinichiro struggles to breathe, Keisuke decides to call an ambulance, but the sound of approaching sirens sends a chill down their spines. They need to run, and fast. Kazutora is in shock, and his mutterings reveal his intentions to kill Manjiro. The situation worsens as the police arrives, arresting Kazutora and Keisuke. As they are escorted out, Manjiro shows up, his eyes filled with confusion and worry. Keisuke can't hold back his tears and apologizes to Manjiro. Kazutora continues to mumble, insisting that he needs to kill Manjiro. The night ends with a sense of dread and uncertainty, leading them to wondering what the future holds. What a shocking revelation! Before we cut back to the present though, take a moment to answer the question of the day. Is Kazutora at fault for the death of Manjiro's brother, even if it was an accident? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. After recounting the past events, Keisuke divulges that he managed to evade juvie, all thanks to Kazutora's valiant defense. Eagerly awaiting Kazutora's release, Keisuke's eyes gleam with excitement. In awe of Keisuke's story and his proof of loyalty, Shuji warmly embraces him and hands him a coveted Valhalla jacket. Not stopping at that, Shuji immediately instructs Takemichi to relay a crucial message to Manjiro: the impending showdown between Taman and Valhalla at an abandoned car lot on October 31st. As the night unfolds, Takemichi lies on his bed with a heavy heart, contemplating the forthcoming battle and the sad truth that he can't bring Keisuke back. With a heavy heart, Takemichi makes his way to the school the next day, his mind racing with thoughts of what to say to Manjiro. On the way, he's beckoned for a scruffy-looking individual sitting on a swing, but Takemichi fails to recognize him and decides to keep walking. However, the stranger catches up with them and, much to Takemichi's surprise, reveals himself to be Chifuyu Matsuno, the 1st Division Vice Captain. Chifuyu brings up Keisuke and how he played a significant role in saving Takemichi from the wrath of the new 3rd Division Captain, reminding him to be grateful for Keisuke. Chifuyu further explains that Keisuke's brutal initiation into Valhalla was not to take down Taman, but to unmask Teita Kisaki. As Takemichi and Chifuyu arrive at Shinichiro's grave, they are met by Manjiro and Ken. The mood is somber, and the tension is palpable as Manjiro and Ken explain their perspective on the tragic events that took place. While they acknowledge that Keisuke and Kazutora did not intend to kill Shinichiro, Manjiro's heart still cannot accept it. As Manjiro begins to share his story, he uses the bike as a symbol of the bond he had with his brother. He explains that the bike was all he had left of his brother and how it was taken from him. The emotion in his voice is raw and powerful, leaving Takemichi and Chifuyu silent. In the midst of this tense moment, Takemichi remembers his earlier conversation with Chifuyu. He realizes that they are now partners and they have a common goal. The promise he made to himself and to Manjiro is now more significant than ever. As they leave the grave, Chifuyu offers his help to Takemichi in becoming the head of Taman. Takemichi agrees, and they shake hands, sealing their new partnership. To establish a connection between Valhalla and Teita Kisaki, Chifuyu suggests they pay a visit to Nobutaka Osanai. Consequently, Nobutaka recounts his first impression of Teita as a boring, spoilt kid. However, Teita presented him with an offer to join forces and promised to help him take over Tokyo. Nobutaka, a man of action, obliged and transformed from a simpleton to a Shinjuku commander in just a year under Teita's guidance. But his joy was short-lived as he realized that he was a mere pawn in Teita's grand scheme of things during the August 3rd battle. Teita orchestrated the entire event and manipulated Pachin to create a reason to fight with Taman. To make matters worse, Teita pushed Nobutaka to take all of the blame for his actions, leaving him stabbed and betrayed. After distancing himself from Nobutaka, Teita's sights were set on taking over Taman by killing Ken and taking the number 2 spot. He then went on to replace him with his new sword, Shuji Hanma. Curious as to why Nobutaka hasn't taken down Teita yet, Chifuyu questions him about it. In response, Nobutaka reveals that Teita is bad news and not someone to be trifled with, as he can manipulate events and kill people without dirtying his hands. With this in mind, he decided it was better to avoid any dealings with Teita altogether. Takemichi, still unsure about his next move, decides to return to the present to reassess the situation. In the present, Takemichi and Naoto pay a visit to Ken and inquire about Valhalla's leader. Takemichi is convinced it's Teita, but Ken disagrees and reveals that Manjiro is the real leader of Valhalla. The revelation stuns Takemichi, who cannot believe that the invincible leader of Taman is associated with a notorious gang like Valhalla. Ken then reminds him of the bloody Halloween incident, where Taman was defeated by Valhalla, leading to the formation of the new Tokyo Manji gang. However, it was not Valhalla who defeated Taman, but rather Manjiro himself. On that faithful day, Manjiro killed Kazutora, leading to Taman's downfall. Ken, being the knowledgeable one, explains that Manjiro was never caught for killing Kazutora since Teta Kisaki had prepared a patsy for him. Upon hearing this, Manjiro felt as if he had fallen into darkness, and Taman was overtaken by Valhalla, expanding into a giant organization with Manjiro as commander and Teta as acting commander. Although Takemichi can't believe that Manjiro would kill anyone, Ken questions him if he wouldn't have done it himself if Kazutora had killed his brother, and then killed Keisuke in front of him. As they leave, Takemichi is still trying to come to terms with the possibility of Manjiro committing such a heinous act. However, he starts seeing glimpses of what happened that day and recalls the devastated look on Manjiro's face when he found Keisuke's body. He wishes to save Manjiro and protect Keisuke from the same fate. Naoto sheds some light on the situation and explains that Taman lost to Valhalla on Bloody Halloween, and it was all because Manjiro ended up killing Kazutora. Takemichi knows that he has to act fast to prevent Manjiro from making the same mistake again. He decides to save Keisuke, which in return will cause Manjiro to change his ways and stop Teta's evil plan. With the new mission at hand, they shake hands and Takemichi jumps back in time. As he walks Hinata home, he's surprised when she comes out with a present for him. It's the same clover medallion he gave her, and they now have matching ones. Takemichi is overwhelmed with emotions and starts crying, thanking her for the thoughtful gift. Meanwhile, Ken calls Kazutora, hoping to bring an end to the ongoing fight. As he questions Kazutora about his intense hatred towards Manjiro, he wonders why Manjiro's defense of Kazutora during their incarceration didn't sway his feelings. Despite Ken's efforts to reason with Kazutora, Kazutora explains that his 2-year imprisonment has forever changed him. Ken, however, refuses to give up on Kazutora and reiterates that they are still part of the same crew. Unfortunately, Kazutora disagrees and storms off, promising to bring Taman down in the upcoming battle. As the battle draws near, Shifuyu takes Takemichi to meet with Keisuke. While there, Shifuyu asks Keisuke if he has any intel on Teta Kisaki. Thankfully, Keisuke informs them that Teta is bad news and he no longer has any reason to stay with Valhalla. Although Shifuyu is concerned about Keisuke's loyalties, Keisuke reminds him that they should only trust those who are their friends. As they discuss their plan of attack, Takemichi requests to speak with Keisuke alone. With a heavy heart, Takemichi pleads with Keisuke to not die during the upcoming battle. As he explains how Manjiro would be devastated by his death, Keisuke coldly responds that he plans to kill Manjiro himself. Later on, as Takemichi meets up with Manjiro, he breaks the news that Keisuke won't be joining them. However, Manjiro reassures him that it's not his fault and that Keisuke's absence only means he's betrayed Taman. Tomorrow, they will fight Valhalla and they won't show mercy to traitors. During the meeting with Taman, Manjiro explains their plan to fight Valhalla and take down their enemies. But then he suddenly admits that he can't bring himself to fight his friend. Despite this, he still rallies the group and encourages them to fight with all their might to win and bring Keisuke back. As the crowd cheers for Taman, Teta can't help but be amazed by the unity and strength of their group. On the day of the battle, Takemichi notices a large group of people gathering at the site, including the powerful Haitani brothers from Roppongi. They have a reputation for being able to gather 100 people with a single call, making them a force to be reckoned with. As the fight commences, Ken insists on one condition. If they win, they'll be taking Keisuke back. Kazutora's anger gets the better of him and he knocks out Hansen, causing the two gangs to clash in an all-out brawl. The stakes are high and everyone knows that only one gang can emerge victorious. With so much on the line, it's clear that this fight will be intense and brutal. Who will emerge victorious from this gang battle of the century? Will Mikey kill Kazutora in this timeline as well? Find out in our next recap of Tokyo Revengers.